Have you ever felt that feeling? That cozy, warm sensation of being completely comfortable. It's like sinking into your favorite armchair after a long day. The world outside fades away, and in that little bubble, everything is safe, predictable, and easy. It's a nice feeling, right? But what if I told you that this very comfort, this thing we all strive for, might actually be the biggest obstacle standing between you and the life you truly want to live? Think about it. We build these comfort zones around ourselves brick by brick. A stable job we don't necessarily love but pays the bills. A routine that's so familiar we could do it in our sleep. Friendships that are easy but don't challenge us to grow. We tell ourselves we're being practical, that we're being safe. But what we're really doing is building a cage. A gilded cage, maybe, but a cage nonetheless. And the price of admission to this cage, our potential, our dreams, the person we could have become. I want to tell you a story. It's about a guy named Alex. Alex was the king of comfort. He had a decent job in accounting, a job he'd landed right out of college. It wasn't exciting, but it was secure. Every morning, he'd wake up at 7 a.m., have the same breakfast, take the same train to work, sit at the same desk, and crunch the same kind of numbers. After work, he'd go home, watch TV, and do it all over again the next day. His weekends were for chores, and maybe a quiet beer with the same few friends. Alex's life was a perfectly predictable loop, but deep down, there was a flicker of something else. When Alex was a kid, he dreamed of being a photographer. He loved capturing the world, finding beauty in the mundane, and telling stories without words. He even had an old camera his grandfather had given him, sitting on a shelf, gathering dust. Sometimes, late at night, he'd scroll through photos online, feeling a pang of longing. He'd see breathtaking landscapes and powerful portraits and think, maybe one day. But one day was always just out of reach, safely tucked away behind the wall of his comfort zone. The thought of taking a photography class, of putting his work out there, of facing potential criticism or failure, it was terrifying. It was so much easier to just stay on the couch, where he knew he couldn't fail. One day, something shifted. The company Alex worked for announced a major restructuring. His secure job was suddenly not so secure. He was offered a choice, a voluntary redundancy package, or a transfer to a new department with a role he knew nothing about. Suddenly, the walls of his comfortable cage started to shake. The predictability he had clung to was gone. He was terrified. For weeks, he couldn't sleep. The comfort he had paid so dearly for had vanished overnight, leaving him feeling lost and exposed. This is what happens when we rely too heavily on external circumstances for our sense of security. The world is constantly changing. The job, the routine, the relationship, none of it is guaranteed to last forever. When we build our entire sense of safety on things outside of our control, we're setting ourselves up for a fall. True security doesn't come from a predictable environment. It comes from our ability to adapt, to grow, and to handle whatever life throws at us. It comes from within. Faced with this crisis, Alex had a choice. He could desperately try to rebuild his old comfort zone, maybe find another similar accounting job, and pretend this never happened. Or he could see this as something else, an opportunity, a forced exit from the cage he had built for himself. He thought about that dusty old camera on his shelf. He thought about the one day that never seemed to arrive. With his heart pounding, he made a decision. He took the redundancy package. It was the scariest thing he had ever done. He didn't immediately become a world-famous photographer. Of course not. Life isn't a movie montage. It was hard. He enrolled in a local photography workshop. The first day, he was so nervous he could barely hold his camera steady. He was surrounded by people who seemed so much more talented, so much more confident. He felt like a fraud. Every time he showed someone a photo, he braced for criticism. His first few attempts were, well, not great. He was awkward. He made mistakes, and there were many, many moments when he wanted to give up and crawl back into the familiarity of a spreadsheet. But he didn't. He remembered the feeling of his secure world crumbling beneath him. He realized that the only thing he could truly rely on was himself. So, he kept showing up. He asked for feedback. He practiced every single day. He started getting up before sunrise, not to catch a train, but to catch the golden light. He started talking to strangers, asking if he could take their portraits. Each small step out of his comfort zone was terrifying, but it was also exhilarating. He was feeling things he hadn't felt in years: excitement, passion, curiosity. He was feeling alive. This is the magic that happens when you step outside your comfort zone. It's not about taking reckless, giant leaps. It's about taking small, manageable steps into the unknown. It's about being willing to be a beginner again, to be a little awkward, to not have all the answers. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. The moment you choose one, you automatically let go of the other. Every time you do something that scares you, your comfort zone expands just a little bit. The things that seemed impossible yesterday become your new normal today. Slowly but surely, Alex's work started to improve. He began posting his photos online. At first, just a few likes from friends. Then, strangers started commenting. Someone asked to buy a print, then another. He started a small side business, shooting local events and family portraits. It wasn't making him rich, but it was making him happy. He was more engaged, more confident, and more connected to the world than ever before. The fear hadn't completely disappeared, but now it was a companion, a sign that he was on the right track, that he was pushing his boundaries and growing. He had traded the price of comfort for the prize of fulfillment. So, I ask you again, what is your comfort zone costing you? What dreams are you keeping on a shelf, gathering dust? What conversations are you avoiding? What skills are you not learning because it feels too hard? The truth is, that cozy, safe place is also a place of stagnation. It's a place where potential goes to die. Breaking free isn't about blowing up your life overnight. It's about making a conscious choice to take one small, scary step. Maybe it's signing up for that public speaking class you've been dreading. Maybe it's finally starting that blog or that YouTube channel. Maybe it's just striking up a conversation with a stranger or taking a different route home from work. Start small. The goal is to build your courage muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. You will feel fear. You will feel discomfort. But on the other side of that feeling is growth. On the other side is a version of you that is more resilient, more capable, and more alive than you can currently imagine. Don't wait for a crisis like Alex's to force you out of your cage. You have the key in your pocket right now. The price of comfort is far too high. It's the life you could be living. Choose growth. Choose adventure. Choose to become the person you were always meant to be. Take that first step today. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear about a time you stepped out of your comfort zone in the comments below. What did you learn? And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories about breaking limits and living a fuller life. See you in the next one.